Welcome to the Expansive CEO podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Chapman, founder of Expansive CEO and X Squared Wealth Planning. Buckle in as we explore how to create true prosperity and build a business and a life that expands beyond yourself and makes a dent in the universe. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Expansive CEO podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Chapman, and today I am back again with my amazing and wonderful executive assistant, Svetlana Lane, and we're going to have a fireside chat about my favorite topic, human design, and we're gonna talk about some cool stuff today. Hi, Svetlana, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited. It's getting warmer and sunnier here in Ohio. So it just boosts everybody's mood and it makes a difference, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I sat outside. Yesterday was our first like 60-degree day. It's been in like the teens and 20s. Like it's
Yeah.
been so cold. And I just sat outside like a lizard in the sun. It was so good.
Yes. Yes. It was amazing. So I'm excited about this conversation today.
Yeah.
We're going to get into talking about how human design can help one to define maybe their purpose on life and how it applies to their business. And so we have some questions that you know, are going to talk through today. So should we just get started? And
Yeah, let's do it.
okay. So first question is how can someone use their human design chart to gain clarity on their life purpose?
Yeah, this is such a good one. And it's such a common question too, right? Like especially with business owners, entrepreneurs, like the ones specifically who are wanting to work in their purpose, wanting to make a difference with their business, wanting to make a difference in the world, wanting to make a difference in the lives of their, in their lives and their family lives and their community, right? So I really find that entrepreneurs who have a focus on the impact that they're making in the world, they're like understanding their purpose, connecting to their purpose is really, really important. And I can identify with that because that's me, right? Like I
Mhm.
feel that way. Um,
I
just
feel that way.
I was gonna say, like, I feel
Yeah.
like that's really apparent for you in music and like how
Mhm.
important it is to create
Mhm.
the space that you're creating
Mhm.
for kids and adults and people to experience the beauty of learning
Mhm.
to connect with music, right? I just talked about
Mhm.
you. You can talk for yourself.
Yeah. No, no, this is fun. You go on.
Yeah. So I wanted to share. So I'm sharing my screen. This is me. Um, and it's so funny. I was on a podcast with a friend recently, Krisha Young, who I'll share that stuff when she drops her episodes too. They're so good. But she was saying she doesn't like to put her chart on like out in public. She feels like it's very like a personal thing. I was like, oh, that's so I get it. I understand. And I'm like, I show my chart all the time. Like, look,
Because
here,
other people have your chart.
right? Yeah, like here's my guts. I think it's hilarious. So when we're talking about purpose in particular, we're going to go over to the Gene Keys chart. And in the Gene Keys, the purpose is here down at the very bottom of the map, right? So it's our purpose is at the end of the activation sequence and the beginning of the Venus or love sequence. Um, and you can see on my chart here, it's half green, half red. That's what that means. It's, ends that first part and kicks you off into the second. So where that comes from, my particular purpose is on gate 14, line 2. And the gene keywords here are compromise is the shadow, competence is the gift, and bounteousness is the city. Again, that's Siddhi. And if we go back and find where that is in the human design chart, it's actually the unconscious earth placement. That's where that comes from. So in the gene keys, they're saying your purpose starts here in this placement. Um, What is the earth? The earth is it's like our grounding force, right? If we think of, we can even think of it this way, like the sun and the earth. The sun is um, our higher self, higher purpose. The earth is our grounding force. The sun is our yang force, also in yin and yang. The earth is our yin force. Again, this is our grounding is the best word that I can use for it. So just the unconscious side also tends to be our, spiritual, body awareness, like all of that. That's our unconscious side of the chart. So we look there. I mean, we can look there to literally see, like, okay, what are the keywords of your purpose in the gene keys? Again, we saw for me, it was compromise to competence to bounteousness. What does that mean? One of my main purposes in life is to help people see where they are making compromises in their life. And what do we mean by compromise? Compromise meaning where you feel like you can never have what you actually truly want or even what you need, right? That your needs and your desires can't actually be met because you constantly have to compromise with everything around you. That you are not important, right? And that's one of the biggest cues that the shadow is coming up is that, there's this feeling of like, I just can't have what I want.
Hmm.
That's not for me. I don't deserve that. I'm not worthy of that love or having that thing, or, I can't have that money or rich, or going the other direction, people who have a lot of money are terrible, and they're bad people, and you have to do bad things to get money, and money is the root of all evil, right? It can actually react in either of those ways where it's like,
Interesting.
yeah. And so what does that mean? So when that's showing up, what we move to, right? The gift is competence. The gift is coming into this space of, oh, I know who I am. I know my desires are important. I know my gifts are important. I know that, if I follow my heart, if I follow what I really desire, um, that is actually going to lead me to a place that's good for everyone if I do it from a place of true alignment.
Mm.
Um, and so that competence, right, grounds you. That's where you can take steps. The gift is where you can actually move. You can take a new action. Um, and so we find that what is my purpose?
Mhm.
To find my competence, to live in my competence, and then help others see that. Every energy that is in your chart I have this question asked all the time. Is that for me? Am I supposed to do that? Or
Mm.
am I supposed to help other people do that? And the answer is yes. Yeah. It's both. It's not one or the
It's
other.
all okay.
Mhm. You are here. Why does that matter? Because you have to understand and embody that gift energy before you can help someone else do that.
Right. That totally makes sense.
Right. I can't be in the shadow of compromise and try to be helping someone get to bounteousness.
Mhm.
What is the city? So the reason I say this, the gift is where we take our steps. So competence is where we take our steps, where we take our action. Where are you right now? What are you doing right now that's working? What are you doing right now that's not working? Where are you compromising in your life? Where are you doing things that you don't want to do? How can you shift? And this is like, Svetlana, you just went through my whole like program, right? Like putting the program together. Aligning your time, money, and energy is
Hmm.
all about this, getting out of compromise and moving into your zone of competence and genius.
That's
And
so cool.
yeah, and so what does it do when you walk in your competence over and over and over again? That's how you find your bounteousness. If you
Right.
naturally start to experience the gifts of the city. the highest expression, which is in my case is bounteousness. So that like as a purpose, that's what I'm helping people do. And okay, so I would be super curious after explaining all of that to you. You see me from the outside, right? Like I'm here in my first person view. You see me from your view. What does that sound like to you knowing me as well as you know me? Like that's my life purpose. What springs up for you about that?
So hold on, let's review. What was the word that's your life purpose?
Compromise is the shadow,
The
competence
shadow.
is the gift.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Because you're very much about, I've always felt like you've always believed in me. Like, you've always been so supportive and believing in me. When sometimes it can be very realistic and be like, oh, I'm failing this for Hannah, and you're always so thankful and grateful, and you're always kind of embodying like my potential. Like you're always kind of seeing something more in me than I think I see in myself. So I can totally see that for just in our personal, working relationship. But also I see that the way that you're so gracious with your clients, I do see that um, that you're not at all judgy or um, doubting any of them and their decisions, whereas I think a traditional like wealth advisor person might, I can see, well, we talked about the industry in general, but you're just so supportive and encouraging, and you build people up to where you see their potential is. So I think I totally see that. Yeah, it resonates from you walk your talk.
Well,
I
thank
guess that's the best
you.
way to put it. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I received that. Thank you. Yeah, and that's that the city of being bounteousness, right? Like there's to me that's such a beautiful way to express that, right? Like nature is bounteous.
Mm-hmm.
One of the nature metaphors I love to use is an acorn, right? So you have this oak tree that drops an acorn, and what is that acorn imprinted for? It's not
Mm-hmm.
imprinted to just be an acorn. It is imprinted in its DNA to be a forest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not like that one acorn can become another oak tree that drops millions upon millions of acorns through its life. And then squirrels take it and other animals take it and they spread them around and they get planted in other places, right? They get literally squirrels plant trees because they bury thousands of acorns a year and can't find half of them. Uh, that's how it works, right? So they're literally like planting from one
Yeah.
acorn. So one acorn
Yeah.
is created to be bounteous. And we can see that one kernel of corn, right? One piece of wheat, one tomato seed is meant to be planted and to create
Mm-hmm.
so much more abundance and bounteousness. So I love that that's, my purpose is
Mm-hmm.
grounded in that sense of this is nature, this is natural. We are meant to be abundant and bounteous beings.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that is all over your message. Yeah,
right?
yeah, you speak about that a lot. So that's so cool.
Yeah. And so when we look at that, so when like for someone else to, we can really dive into that. Um, do we want to look at yours? Do you want to look at yours for a second?
Oh, sure.
Let's do a Svetlana too. So yours is 22.3,
Okay.
which is in your solar plexus, so the emotional center. And
That sounds like me.
right, you were
Emotional.
undefined. You're not defined in your emotional center, but um, so your purpose in life, the shadow is dishonor, the gift is graciousness, and the city is grace. And what does that mean? And line, it's on a line 3, which is movement. Um, So you embody this through literally in the way you move through the world, quite literally. And so dishonor, this one I'd have to look it up in my book a little bit closer,
Sure.
but graciousness and grace, like I've looked at this one quite a bit for a few other people. It's not like popping into my head really strongly with the shadow, but what is grace? Grace is someone doesn't deserve your forgiveness, but you get it.
Hmm.
And it's not, they don't have to deserve it. Like we don't, like, you don't have to do anything. That's the city of grace, is that you don't have to do anything to deserve to be
Hmm.
loved and to be worthy. There's nothing that you have to do. And so when you walk in graciousness, that's you giving, right? That you give
Hmm.
people the benefit of the doubt. You give people um, space to be themselves. You give people space to express themselves. That's walking in graciousness. What is that? What comes up for you seeing that?
Yeah, funny. I have students that sometimes come and they're like, we didn't practice this week. And I'm like, who cares? We can still do so much. Like, why are you feeling sad about this? So, like, life is, so messy and stuff happens. And yeah, I don't have this like one size fits all. I don't have like, a particular mold for even in just what I do as a teacher. I don't put people in a mold like you must be this type of student in order to be successful here, like at all. It's like who do you want to be, and let's hold space for you. So I do feel that that resonates in a lot of ways for me. Just holding space for everybody in my life, whether it's my old abuser, holding space. Okay, I guess you just want to be abusive. Fascinating. Like even in that way.
Right.
Sometimes I think I overhold space for some people, but uh, but yeah, overall I do feel that is so neat, and I'm always kind of curious, and I think that's why I love meeting new people because I love to hear their stories, and I love just to know who they are without any kind of you know just to learn more about humanity. I'm always like curious about people and their lives, and I'm always in that curious space, I feel, for people
Yeah.
in general, just like staying curious and holding that, you know, with them and not trying to impose like a
Yeah. And
certain
that
judgment on them or whatever.
yes, I feel like that's really getting to the heart of it. And what you said before of, if a kid didn't practice and they come in and they're feeling really bad about themselves, dishonor includes shame and guilt,
Mm,
right? If you're turning it on yourself and
hmm.
feeling shameful for not having done exactly the right thing, or, like that, like, what does graciousness say? Graciousness says exactly what you do, right? Like,
Yeah,
hey, you know what? There's so much we can do.
yeah. But it's
It's
interesting. It's
okay.
very interesting with the dishonor because I used to feel a lot of shame and guilt in my former life, of I'm a super evangelical Christian, and I felt a lot of this like God's not happy with me. I need to make him happy. It was subconscious, but it was totally there.
Oh, yeah.
And so then if I look back at my former self, I was quite judgy of other people because that's all I did was judge myself.
Yeah. Oh,
And
same. Yeah.
and I would say Jesus loves everybody, and but really because of that God that I served was very judgy. You can't do this and you can't do that, and this is a sin, and that's going to send you to hell. And so I was walking on eggshells around my God, and therefore I kind of put everybody in that same, yeah, projected that on other people. Yeah. So now I think that has also helped, like getting rid of the shame and the guilt personally in my life and holding space for me and being like, yeah, sometimes I'm snarky or sometimes, yeah, I laugh at inappropriate times for like, and that's okay. Being
Hmm.
able to, I had to really, I think that's where it started is doing, like you were saying, it starts with you embodying that. So yeah, I'm resonating a lot with this. That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's, in the I love in the visual of the gene keys that it's at the bottom too. So this is like the root of your purpose. Again, the grounding, the planting, the seed, right? Like down, it's down low. Um, that, helping people move through that shame, that guilt, that internalized dishonor and having grace for themselves, right?
Hmm.
That's the difference. That's the difference is, oh, I give me grace. It doesn't have to come from outside of me.
Hmm.
I give me grace.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was so empowering for me to learn that I was able to do that for myself because
Mhm.
yeah, I always thought it had to be external. Other people had to, I was always asking other people for forgiveness or, like for
Right.
permission. But it was like I was a little robot or something. And so fascinating. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I
Um,
would love for anyone else who's listening right now, really taking in, what's your purpose? Um, like the kernel, that's the seed, that's
mhm,
again, the acorn of your purpose, of what you're here to help embody yourself and to help others embody, is that unconscious earth placement. So on the right side or the left side of the chart, usually it's red or some shade of red. Um, and it's that very second box right there. So we can the other things we would look at, like mine was on my defined sacral center. What is the sacral center? It's all about movement. It's all about that gut force, life force energy. So there's like a lot of, again, bounteousness, competence. What do you do? There's a lot of what do you do energy that comes from the sacral. And for me, it's defined. So I
mhm,
always have access to that energy. For you, it was on your solar plexus, your emotional center, which for you is not defined. And so, what's really interesting that I've been experimenting with, and for myself and with my clients, what I find is that a lot of times our purpose, when it's in an undefined center, part of what that means is that we're actually meant to connect with others.
mhm,
We are meant to, well, your purpose is, to help people experience grace and graciousness. But and we did talk about that, like, right, you give that to yourself. But then when we are with others, we heal in relationship. There are things that from a community perspective, from a healing and growth perspective, we actually need
mhm,
others in order
mhm,
to heal and grow. And so for you, having that being on an undefined center, it's you don't always have constant access to that
mhm.
energy. And so when you are in connection with others, very, very often when you're with someone else, that energy will connect for you and you'll have access to it because you're with other people. Does that make
That is
sense?
so cool. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I'm so drawn to other people, I guess.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. And we are like we
Yeah.
all are, unless you're
Yeah.
a person who, and again, if you look at your human design chart and you are like fully lit up and you have all, there are people who have all their centers lit up. It doesn't mean that you don't want to be with people. Um,
Sure. You're
Not
just
saying that,
more,
but
you
yeah,
have
there's
access inside.
right. Like my son, actually Henry and Clara are both very, my two older kids have a lot of definition in their charts, and you can feel it. Like you teach Clara lessons. I wonder if you can
Hmm.
feel that too. Like they're
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like, I don't need your input. I want like I'm
Yeah. They're very, like, she's very self-assured of like what she wants,
hmm
you know?
yeah. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
interesting. Henry's the
Yeah.
very
It's so
same
cool.
way.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
That's very
interesting.
cool.
Anyway, that little tangent. But yeah, so like if you're looking at your purpose, you want to look at
Hmm.
that unconscious earth placement, that second box
Hmm.
on the left-hand side. Then you want to look at the I like to look at the gene key notes, so the shadow
Hmm.
and the gift and the city. And then I like to look at where it is on your body graph, what center it's in. Is that center defined or undefined? What other energies do you have around it? And then the other aspect could be like, is that energy doubled up in your chart, right? Do you have, let's see, for you, you're 22. Nope, it's just in the one place. You don't have that doubled up anywhere. For me, the 14 is doubled up. So it's my purpose, and it's also my conscious Mars placement. Um, so yeah, like that's an extra strong energy in my chart because it's doubled up as well. It's got a couple of different flavors to it. So those
Very
are all
cool.
things to look at.
So, do we want to tell our listeners about their access to get their own human design chart
Yes, I would
so
love
they
that.
can look this up for themselves?
Yeah. Okay. So if you're listening, if you don't have your human design chart, and you want one that looks similar, it won't be exactly the same, but I'll show mine again. It will look very similar to this so that you can actually see, when I'm talking about like the red side and the black side, like you can look at your chart and understand exactly what you're seeing. It won't have all of this extra design and personality information on the left hand side, the words that are there that you have to get from like working with me and getting the chart directly from me. But it will look very, very similar to what is on the screen right now, the chart that I pull. And this is so exciting. I'm so happy about this. On the Expansive CEO website, so if you go to expansiveceo.com, you can now pull your human design chart directly from the website. So if we go there, I'll show this too. Nope, not that one. If we go to expansiveceo.com, here's the landing page. Here's the home page. You'll see this button right here, top right corner, where, the first thing that your eye should kind of go to is Discover Your Design. It's a button called Discover Your Design. You click on that and you can put in your information, all your birth information right there, and then it will come back with your chart. So you can get, again, the one that I typically use. You can get it there. You can also explore the products and services, from Human Design and Gene Keys coaching. We've got those packages all listed there, and you can book a free intro call with me to see if
And the
it's a good
chart
fit.
is free too, right, Hannah?
Chart is free. The chart is totally free. Um, and that, so you can start there so that you can start to see your type,
Mhm.
see your authority, see your profile lines, get some of that basic information, start to understand. And then, yeah, if you want to go further, there are lots of ways to go further, but that's the first step, is to go and discover your design that just got finished up today. Well,
So
today,
cool.
as we're recording this on February
Hmm.
26th. Um, but yeah, it's out there. It's out there now. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, congratulations. I know that's something you've been wanting. So it's really cool to see it happen for you this year.
Yeah, yes, very excited. It's um the way that I see human design and gene keys, helping people understand themselves better, helping people hone in their messaging,
Hmm.
helping people just really like align their businesses and their activities, like daily activities,
Hmm.
to the way that they like, this is how you are designed to work, and
Hmm.
it's not wrong.
Yeah. And you should actually lean into it.
Right.
That's
Right.
that's really cool. Do you
Yeah,
have time for two more questions, Hannah?
I do.
Okay. So I think the next one we should probably talk about is how can someone start integrating human design into their daily life and work? So once they pull their chart, what would you recommend? Obviously, looking up that part of the sequence and seeing their shadow and their, is it gift and the city? Is that what you?
Yep, those are the
And
gene
then
key keywords.
Yeah. And then what would you say doing from there would be like a good next step? And maybe how can that relate to their business as well? And
Yeah. So integrating it into your daily life and business is a practice. So I will be like so transparent about it. It's not something that you do once. I've met a lot of people who have said, "Oh, human design is fascinating. I had a reading once. This person gave me all this great information, but it was a lot, and then I didn't really know what to do with it."
mm,
And so that's one of the things that I am hoping to help people move through is, okay, how do we
mhm,
actually apply this? How do we use it so that you can practice it? Because as with any new skill, any new learning, any new awareness, if you
mhm.
don't keep going with it and take actions consistently, it's just another thing that you learned once and then put down, right? So
Yes.
how to integrate it? One of the most important things um, is getting like a basic understanding of the I want to say the basics of your chart. So your authority is really, really important. Your type is really, really important. Um, and we've talked about some of this on the podcast before. So maybe we can
Can
give
you
some
give
of
an
the
example of authority to our listeners?
right. So that's been when we talk about emotional authority or
Hmm.
sacral authority
And that's
or
like the decision making, right?
decision making. Yep. Splenic authority,
Okay.
all of the different
Hmm.
authority types.
Hmm.
So understanding what yours is. So mine is
Yeah.
sacral, Svetlana, yours is splenic.
Yes.
About more than half of the population is emotional authority,
Hmm.
right? So that's the first thing. When I work with clients who are fairly new to human design, that's like the first thing we talk about. First thing we work on
Hmm.
is this is your authority. Here's how you utilize it. Here's how you hear it. Here's how you feel
Hmm.
it. Um,
Hmm.
let's talk about how that shows up for you because moving in line with your like what you know to be the right decisions for you, that's the hardest thing for most people. It's like,
Hmm.
how do I make
Yeah.
decisions that are good for me? Because we've been entrained out of our own internal authorities for most of our lives, for most of us.
Absolutely.
I would say especially people that have come from high control religions or high control households.
Guilty as charged in both accounts right here.
Yes, same,
Yeah.
right? Because in a high control religion or in a high control household, you're not allowed to listen to yourself
No,
in
absolutely
all
not.
kinds of ways, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You must
um,
conform. Yeah.
right. And so for a lot of people who were in either or both, um, and have kind of that, either religious trauma or um
Hmm.
emotional, mental, spiritual abuse trauma from
Hmm.
childhood or from being in abusive relationships, like
Hmm.
you don't know how to use your authority.
Right. It is
You don't know how to
hard
trust
to
yourself.
learn. I mean, it's not hard. It is, you have to really take time to practice that for sure. It's a journey. You can't just magically say, well, now I'm good because I'm out of that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
makes sense. And then you said the type, you also have to know your type. So you're talking about like manifestor, projector. Is that the type? When you say type, that's what you're referring to?
Exactly. So, yes,
Mm-hmm.
a manifestor has a very different energy type than a projector or a
Mm-hmm.
generator or a manifesting generator or a reflector. Those are your types.
Mm-hmm.
Each one moves through the world a little bit differently, or a lot of bit differently, depending, right? So they're like understanding who you are fundamentally, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
projectors, like you, Svetlana, projectors don't have sacral energy. That's one of the hallmarks of a projector. You don't have that consistent access to that life force energy. And projectors, typically, especially in corporate settings, are made to feel like they're supposed to be able to keep up with everybody around
Mm,
them. And it, it's it's such a
interesting.
it's such an interesting thing because you're like, no, I'm not slow. I'm not bad at things. I mean, like, why do I don't want to rest. I don't want to take naps all the time. Like, that's not what being a
Mm,
projector means. It means that you are not meant to be doing all the doing
mm,
in your business, in your work, at home. Like, that's not your aura. That's not your purpose. You don't have um,
mhm.
that sacral center turned on all the time. So what you're going to do is you're going to burn yourself out in a spectacular fashion,
Totally burned out like at least 2 years ago. It's good.
right?
Still in burnout mode.
You gotta, your work as a projector is to learn how to delegate.
Yes, I struggle with that big time because,
Hmm.
yeah, I can
Right.
go into that, but that's a
Yeah.
huge thing for me.
Yeah.
That's
The training.
interesting.
And well, and what's interesting is so that's projectors, that's also manifestors, and reflectors. All three of those types.
Okay.
Reflectors are only about 1% of the population. Manifestors are about 9%. Projectors are about 20%. So we're talking about 30% of the population.
Hmm.
And so it's not everyone, right? So how you can understand if you're one of those three types, yeah, you, you see the 70% of people around you who are generators who are like go go going doing all the stuff. You're like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I keep up? Why am I so exhausted?
Hmm.
Why is this everything suck? Because that's not
How you're meant to
it's not how you're meant to work, but
grow.
you
Yeah.
are in the minority of auras, right?
Hmm.
At 30%. So you might not see someone who is a projector or a manifestor being themselves and being
Yes.
successful as
Yeah.
often, right?
Interesting. Very
So
interesting.
yeah, so it's really, really important. And then on the generator side, so generators and manifesting generators, we make up about 70% of the population. Um, both of us have technically it's one aura type, it's a generator type. It's just that manifesting generators have um a specific type of connection to the throat. Um, that makes us manifesting generators, gives us like just a little bit different flavor. But we have that sacral uh life force energy like always turned on, and we are the ones that people are like, I don't know how you do everything you do. Like, it just boggles my mind. Like, I don't understand. How do you have that many things going on and they're all working and you're like got all this stuff happening, and you just do so much stuff. And the burnout can also happen for generators if you're doing things that you constantly feel a gut like, so your gut response is a no.
Mm,
If you're constantly like, no, I hate getting up, I hate this job, I hate driving to work, like, if you're constantly like having to like drag yourself to things,
right.
you are depleting your sacral life force energy by doing that. So you are like, your tank is getting depleted every time you feel no in your
Mm.
body, but you go and do a thing anyway. That is how generators burn themselves out in spectacular fashion. Um, I think it goes for everyone, but
Crash and burn.
that's the
Yeah.
crash and burn, and the a lot of times like the magnificent like, I gotta go. I'm like out, like, quit and just,
But you have a story about that.
I do.
Yeah.
And it is very similar to that. Like, my body, like, I knew in my gut, like, this is not, I feel terrible every day going into this place. And once I started healing that, like, now the things that I get super excited about and when I'm doing all this stuff, it's because I'm like, I'm excited for it. And it's a
Mhm.
yes. It's a full hell yes in my body. And I'm like, that is what I want to do. That's what I'm gonna uh
Yeah.
chase after at this moment. Not even chase after, like run towards. And it's such like there's no burnout that happens with that. it was like tired. Like I can go to bed and just sleep
Hmm.
like a rock, right? Like I feel good. I used my energy and it feels good. It's not my energy was being depleted by something I hate.
Hmm.
It's super, super powerful. But to know, like, if you are a sacral type or a non-sacral type, like we are very different. And so it's very, very important to understand
Yeah.
what type you are and how you work best. It's one of
Great.
one of the key factors.
Great. So know how you use your energy, start there, and know how you make decisions,
Hmm.
and then look at that part of the sequence that defines that life purpose for you. And that's a
Hmm.
great place. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
then our other question is, and we explored it just a tiny bit before recording, but are there any common mistakes people make when interpreting or applying their human design?
Yes. Yeah. I over the years have heard quite a few things that are just like flat out wrong and super disempowering for
Mm-hmm.
people. So I've heard and talked to people who've had a chart reading done, they've had their human design read and been told, like literally straight up told, like as a generator. So one of the things with generators is that um, we don't have the initiation. Like we're not meant to initiate. Manifestors are here to initiate like new ideas, new ways of being. Like there's a lot to it. And so some teachers have taken that to mean and taught and said out loud that generators are not supposed to have any new ideas or build anything for themselves. They're meant to, build things for other people. And that's
Mm-hmm.
all they're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've talked to generators before who've said, well, yeah, I had my human design read and I'm just a plain old generator and it's dumb. And I'm like, whoa, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't love your generator nest? Like, that makes me sad. Like, no, you are
Yeah.
powerful beyond belief.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it is a complete lie to say that as a generator, you are not here to have your own business or build something that you love. No,
Mm-hmm.
I I am like living proof of that not being true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, it could mean that, okay, hey, you're building upon other people's ideas that are awesome, right? And you're making them better. And you do something this way. I'm kind of that way in financial planning, right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't invent financial planning, but
And
I
there was
do
just
it
a
differently.
hidden brain podcast about this not too long ago about, or at least I listened to it. I don't know when it came out, but it was like how great ideas are formed. And the whole premise of that podcast, or the summary, is that they're always on top of all these other ideas that came before. Like Thomas Edison,
Oh
like
yeah.
he had a team working for him, and there were so many other people trying to also do what he was doing. And
Mhm.
so it's stuff like that, that that totally makes sense. Like we are all meant to collectively, like, rise to the top, or like it's always build on other people's ideas. You're never just magically going to be this genius without other people around you anyway.
Right.
But it's that was the idea. Yeah, like you're a genius because all these people like try things, and it was
Yes.
still credited to him, obviously, and yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that
love that
reminded me of that.
example. Yeah, it's that with generators, we do have the power to do
Yes.
more, right? That is part of our design. But yeah, to tell someone that, well, you're just here to help other people build, so go find a
Mm,
job where you can help build things. To someone who is like very entrepreneurial, like it's just plain incorrect and disempowering.
absolutely. And I also mentioned that it kind of sounds like Calvinism a little bit, where you're just like predisposed to a certain future, and like you have to give into it and just accept that
Just accept that,
You're
yeah,
one
you
of
are
the chosen who's going to heaven, and the rest of you are going to burn in
right.
hell, and that's your predestination.
Right. Like,
And it
what is it?
almost sounds like,
The electorate. You're one of the electorate that gets to go to heaven, and the rest of you are not. I'm like, oh my God.
yeah,
Yep. Just
yeah.
gonna burn in
But
hell.
so I hear you almost saying that sometimes it's easy, not easy, but sometimes human design can be interpreted in that kind of predestination way, and we need to be careful to stay in the space of like we still have agency and power and creativity um, in our
Yes.
lives. Like, don't just assume that human design has now stamped you and sealed you like your fate. It's not supposed to be used that way anyway. It's only supposed to empower you to drive you to dream bigger, right? And to
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for bringing that in. Because it is very like there are people who see human design that way, see astrology that way. Like, no, I don't, I reject that because it's telling me like what my life is, and I don't have a choice. Like,
mm-hmm,
that is so far from the reality of what this system is helping people understand about themselves. I This is actually one of the reasons I really enjoy bringing the gene keys in together too. Human design does a really good job of like um explaining the energies of each center of each planet. Like there, it's such a beautifully designed system. But the gene keys, or in addition, maybe, and the gene keys bring in that structure of shadow gift city. And so what I love about that is it's like the human design chart is saying, and the gene keys map, they're saying, hey, these are your strongest energies in this lifetime, right? So we all have all of them. We all experience all of these different energies. What I'm referring to that, I'm really meaning like the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. So on the human design chart, there's numbers 1 through 64. And those
mm-hmm,
that's the Chinese I Ching, which the gene keys are basically a modern re-knowing of the I Ching. We can put it that way.
okay.
That gives us this shadow gift city framework. So if we know that we have all of this within us, we experience all of it at different times, but in our body right now, we have our chart shows us these are your strongest energies that you consistently or inconsistently have access to. Then we also always have the choice to be in our shadow or in our gift all the
Mm-hmm,
time, right? I could be constantly compromising, constantly intolerant, constantly judging, constantly, right? Like I can be all of those things. I can
mm-hmm,
choose the shadow side at any moment,
mm-hmm,
or I can choose to notice when the shadow comes up, because it always does. It does for all of us. I can notice when I'm having those energies, like if I'm feeling that intolerance, whether that's for myself for making a mistake, towards someone else, towards my children. When I notice that shadow of intolerance coming up, I can choose. I can choose to dive into it and be it, or I can choose to recognize it, look where it's coming from, see what's triggering it,
mm-hmm,
see if something needs to be loved or healed or seen, and then walk in the gift of understanding.
mm-hmm,
I have that choice. That's my agency.
mm-hmm.
And we all have that choice all the time. And so we can even, my husband asked me a good question, I don't know, a while ago. Because again, he's super skeptical, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But
Which is
he's like,
actually kind of good for you,
right?
because
Yeah,
it really solidifies what you're really doing and you're, really walking to your true self. I feel like it's kind of actually kind of cool that you
right. Yeah,
have a little bit of that, like, questioning around
right.
you.
Yeah, it's healthy. Like it's healthy
Yeah.
to be a critical thinker.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, his question was, okay, so what if someone else was born in the exact same hospital at the exact same time as me, and we have the exact same chart because it's built based on your birth date, time, and place, right?
Hmm.
I'm like, well, yeah, you would have a very similar chart. There would be like slight differences because if you're born 5 minutes apart or 10 minutes apart or 15 minutes apart, you're going to have some changes a little bit here and there. But even if you came out at the same minute in different hospital rooms and had the exact same chart, you're going home to different parents.
Hmm.
And even if you're twins and you're born minutes apart and you go home to the same parents, you still are not necessarily going to have the exact same experience. But let's go with the like two kids born at the hospital at the exact same time going home to different parents. They're going home to possibly different socioeconomic situations. They're going home to
Right.
different sibling situations. They're going home to different um, cultural situations.
Hmm.
They're not going to have the same life experience. And so their exact same chart, they're going to have some areas where they like the shadows are more prominent, their conditioning is more prominent, and some places where they're like naturally in their gifts more, right? So those two humans are going to have similar life purpose, similar life trajectories and experiences, but they're
Hmm.
going to approach them and take from them very different things based on the way they were raised. Does that make
And
sense?
oh, absolutely. I do have to add just a thought that I had because they did do studies with twins separated at birth and especially identical twins. They ended up following, I think it was there were lots of studies done, but there's one that comes to mind in Ohio, actually. It's like some two men who never met each other. They were born and then separated, ended up living in the same state, marrying a woman with the same name, 40 miles like apart from each other. So they had so many, their favorite color, they had the same favorite shirt. Like they lived almost parallel lives in some ways. So I had to add that too, because that is fascinating as well. Like they could have also ended up living completely kind of different, but I think they did the same amount type of work. It was just
Really
wild.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there is also that. Just saying.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I love it. Um, but there's that misconception or the mistaken thinking that like you are predestined. It
Yeah.
it
Yes.
is the fallacy because we still have free will. Or I
Exactly.
like there are some people who believe we don't, right? I believe we have free will. Um,
Absolutely.
and so that if that's your chosen philosophy as well, that we have free will
Yeah.
humans with, hey, here's the path that you could take. You could
Yes.
choose this path, and it could lead to these things, right? That's the way that I choose to um see life and guide myself through, is that like I receive visions of and downloads of like here's what things could look like in the future, like this is a future possibility. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the one and only possibility,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a possibility and you can choose to align yourself to that, or you can choose to align yourself to something else, right? Like again, you have agency. uh,
Yes.
and we can use your human design and gene keys to help
Yeah.
point you in the direction of your gifts over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like it's right or wrong, it's just kind of playing and exploring and seeing what feels best. And yeah, I even the last 3 years, I can see my journey with the way that I made decisions, and it was all good because even when I didn't necessarily make decisions that aligned um, with my chart or whatever, like more of my higher self, like I still got good, or there was still, it was a journey that needed to happen. Like I had to cross that bridge in order to get here, right? So just giving, holding grace for all of us, graciousness.
There you are.
There's my graciousness coming out. Let's all just have grace for each other on our journeys,
Yes.
as we explore human designs and like our life purposes. But yeah, as we kind of draw closer, the further I explore this in my own life, I can also see how it's serving me more the more I come to my truest, you know, human design or whatever, highest self. Or yeah, I personally have benefited a lot from it. So I encourage everybody listening, try it and see,
Yeah.
if it's for you.
Yes.
And
The
fit for,
experiment of it all. And that I was
yeah.
I didn't get there all the way when I was saying what
Oh,
I was
I'm
saying before
sorry.
was the no, no, you didn't interrupt. I just like lost the thread of what I was saying. That when we practice, I did say this, but like practicing, like doing it over and over again
Mm,
with human design in particular, when people do teach it, like the big, like the full course, like all of it, it's that you have to practice for 7 years.
wow.
Like the shift takes 7 years to consciously choose over and over again. And that so that like your experiment of who you are, right, if you focus on it for 7 years, then you will have like, I don't know, graduated. You can say that, like that sounds kind of goofy. Um, but when I first heard that, when I think about that, I mean, it reminds me of how different I was 7 years ago and 7 years
Mm-hmm.
before that. And so, right, like you, I don't know if it's actually a myth or true, but that our cells kind of like replenish every 7 years.
I was literally thinking that. I heard that too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. We can someone fact check me and let me
Yeah.
know if
Yeah.
that's. I know there's
Chat
some truth
GPT.
to it, right? But like there are some cells that don't change.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even in our psychological development and child development, right? We look at that in 7 year cycles from 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, right? These 7 year
And like,
cycles of life are really important.
and I think, didn't they like, not to bring the Bible into this, but I feel like there was farming, like they farmed by 7 year cycles, like
Yep.
they farmed and then they rest and whatever.
Yeah, let the fields go fallow for 7 years.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting.
Yep. A 7 year jubilee.
Just history. We're
Uh
talking about history.
right. Yeah, the jubilee
Yeah.
when all debts would be erased. That was every
Yeah.
7 years, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
there's
really
there's
cool.
a like lot of um
A lot of
resonance.
7 year, yeah, in nature and in history. I think that's cool.
Yeah. And so that's, for me, it's been four, about 4 years.
Hmm.
And I've been like studying and teaching and
Yeah,
loving it, right? And but I can see the difference and I feel the difference. I feel the difference in my self-confidence and my knowing of myself and the alignment I have with my businesses and in, the trajectory and how easy life, not to say that there's never challenging moments or tears or frustrations, um, or moments of shadow, like always,
of course.
but the
But
overall
you're moving through the pain, not cycling in it.
yes.
You're not, yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good way to
It's
put
like,
it. And the overall experience of, like having clients come to me who are so excited to work with me. Like I have no no fears anymore. Where at the beginning
mm,
of my journey, like it was terrifying.
yeah,
It was really scary. And
like a
now
free falling backwards.
oh yeah. Yeah, just like I'm surrendering. Like the free fall is real. And now it doesn't feel like a free fall. It feels like I'm flying.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really are. It's so
Yeah,
exciting.
it is.
That is
It
so cool.
it is. It's really beautiful. So yes, I am. so excited to kind of like wrap up to have the Expansive CEO website. Like Svetlana and I have really worked on this for the last like 3 months at this point, right? Like really
Hmm.
put in a lot of effort to have it look beautiful and be, really like be me.
Hmm.
Showcase, but like show my heart, I think more, be really alignment. Have
Hmm.
the different courses, the Expansive CEO
Hmm.
program, um, money story meditation, niching courses, human design and gene keys coaching. Like it's all there. It's like
Hmm.
all the things that I'm so excited about. And then of course financial planning and X squared. That website was done last year,
Hmm.
redone rather. Last year is also like love that. I think it's beautiful. But this like there's a lot of energy in me right now for this push for expansive,
Hmm.
and I'm really excited about it. So I encourage everyone to go check out the website, tell me what you think, pull your human design chart. Again, that's totally for free. If you see anything that sparks your interest, the money story meditation is really, really beautiful. It's
Hmm.
$11 on the website. It
Hmm.
comes with a really awesome um, journaling PDF to really get the most out of the meditation when you go through it. And everything else on there, I'm so excited for. Um, yeah, it's another one of those things of like putting like the human design and gene keys coaching. I'm already doing that. I've worked with many clients doing that work, and I just didn't have anything that said, "Hey, this is something I do." So, yeah,
Yeah. So if you're, yeah, if you want to find your life's passion, start here and see if it leads you somewhere. We'll encourage our
yeah,
people who are listening to start with pulling your chart and go from there and email Hannah or follow her on all the socials
yeah.
to learn
Thank you.
more because we talk a lot about that. So
Absolutely.
this was
Well,
a great conversation.
yes, thank you. And we have so much more, right? We have like so many
Oh
more
yeah.
questions to go through. So we'll do a couple more fireside chats in the near future and keep talking about this stuff. But if you have any questions, if there's anything coming up that you're like, ooh, I really want to know about this, or can we talk about how do you find your, you know, most powerful messaging or different things like that? Send us your questions. You can
Mhm.
send them to Hannah, Hannah, at expansiveceo.com. And Svetlana checks that email too. So we will all we'll both see it. Um,
Yes.
so it'll come up. But yeah, send me your questions, send me your thoughts. Check out the website. And yeah, so excited.
Yeah, for sure. All right, have a well, I'll let you wrap up.
I love it. I love having a co-host.
I was gonna say, have a great day.
Have a great day. Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Svetlana, for co-hosting with me.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and be sure to like and subscribe. And again, if anything resonated with you from this episode, I would love to hear from you. Email me at Hannah, Hannah, at expansiveceo.com and tell me about it. And if you're ready for your greatest expansion, you can find ways to work with me at expansiveceo.com and at x2wealthplanning.com. That's X, the numeral 2, wealthplanning.com. So until next time, remember that there is enough, you are enough, and your birthright in this lifetime is to be expansive.